Which chocolate treat skyrocketed to fame thanks to one very homesick extraterrestrial? From fish-shaped gummies to energy-packed gum, these candies each had a shining moment in the American consciousness. Swedish Fish were the hottest crimson candy of the mid-1960s. As the name suggests, these iconic candies are Swedish in origin, but swam across the pond in the 1950s and made a big splash in the United States market. As back then history notes, while Swedish Fish have a fairly universally adored flavor, it's tough to pin down precisely what it is. Although ruby-hued candies are typically cherry, strawberry, or raspberry flavored, Swedish Fish are allegedly lingonberry flavored, Sweden's national fruit, and a sweet nod to their origins. Today, you can find a rainbow of different Swedish Fish, including tropical varieties, patriotic Swedish Fish, and multicolored Swedish fishtails. Classic 1960s-era advertising for the $100,000 bar, now known as the 100 Grand Bar, champion it as a candy on the rise. It holds its own with heavyweights like Nestle's Crunch as one of Candy Marketer's 15th annual Dime Bar Survey's top 10 candy bars. Today, $100,000 bars might have changed their name and look and lost some of their clout, but these caramelly, crisp, richly chocolate treats were all the rage in the swinging 60s. In addition to being delicious, $100,000 bars and later 100 Grand Bars served an additional purpose as part of craft radio campaigns all across the country. Tricky radio DJs would often entice listeners with the promise of 100 grand, only to present the dumbfounded fans with a candy bar.
And what would you do with 100 grand?
I'd eat it.
Originally an import from Britain, Starburst first skipped across the Atlantic in 1967 named Opal Fruits, then went through a brief period as M&M Fruit Chewies, before finally becoming Starburst. The basic fruity premise of these snacks always remained the same: pliable, taffy-like texture, bursting with different luscious fruit flavors separated into bite-sized cubes with different color wrappings. According to Snack History, the secret of Starburst's scrumptiousness lies in the ingredients, specifically fruit juice. Although the original, iconic fruit-forward Starburst candies are still available today, you can now enjoy many variations of the famous candy. With its wacky and colorful zebra mascot launched in the 1960s, Fruit Stripe gum rapidly became a classic favorite thanks to its catchy marketing, multiple flavors, and intoxicating smell. As part of the Beech Nut family, Yipe Stripe stood out in the crowded gum market thanks to its distinct design and decidedly kid-friendly flavor combinations, which became a huge hit. Yipe Stripes is still around, and you can pick up a pack of childhood nostalgia online or at some select stores. Sunline Sweet Tarts boomed in the 1960s thanks to an innovative marketing campaign that had the 5-cent packs flying off the shelves. Sweet Tart mania is still going strong too, and its popularity hasn't waned too much since the 1960s zenith. These candies are relatively nuanced for children's fare, balancing the expected sweetness of sugary discs with a sour punch. As with most candies, Sweet Tart's packaging looks slightly different than it did during those heydays of the late 1960s, although the logo hasn't changed much. There are also other types of Sweet Tarts for your snacking pleasure, like giant or mini ones, and Sweet Tart Chewies and gels. Talk to any 70s kid, and there's a great chance they'll wax poetic about one hard-shelled, colorful licorice candy, Good and Plenty. These pink and white candies got a serious boost thanks to Choo Choo Charlie and a string of catchy commercials promoting the brand. Eventually, Good and Plenty's joined other movie theater treats like Milk Duds and Juji Fruits to pair with hot buttered popcorn at the cinema. So grab a jumbo-sized box of these sweet, crunchy, chewy licorice treats and prepare to kick it right back to the 70s. Maybe even stream some old Choo Choo Charlie spots while you snack on this often overlooked but undeniably tasty treat. Before there were dad jokes, there was Laffy Taffy, an early 70s treat best known for its gummy consistency and plethora of grown-worthy jokes. Laffy Taffy billed itself as Willy Wonka's preferred treat. The cheesy, rhyming name made Laffy Taffy instantly memorable, and the genius marketing campaign of crediting kids with the cheesy jokes made it collectible and coveted. Not only would you get a different joke on each piece of Laffy Taffy, but the joke would be kid-approved. Most of the jokes were lighthearted, pun-heavy, and silly, although some did veer towards the grimmer side, which you wouldn't normally expect from a candy aimed at kids.
What kind of shoes do bananas wear?
Well, skinhead.
Slippers.
I don't get it.
With a classic, funky wrapper and tiny pastel discs of pure, fizzy joy inside, Bottle Cap's candy debuted in the 1970s and has been going strong for 50 years. Although there have been some tweaks on the packaging and one flavor swap, these changes are relatively minor compared to what most candies go through. In addition to their traditional bottle cap shape, Bottle Caps have another thing going for them. They fizz away in your mouth, giving you that carbonated, sweet soda feeling in every disc. It's no wonder 70s kids simply swooned for these so-delicious snacks. Fun Dip is the hands-on 70s candy snack that evolved from Lickimade's cool fruited powder and spoon combo. Since Fun Dip came with a candy dipping stick, the experience was fully interactive. You could customize your ideal ratio of fruit dip to candy, making it a superior version of Lick-O-Maid, which didn't have a candy dipping wand. Fun Dip came in tons of different flavors, and 70s kids simply had to try them all. Fun Dip is still around, delighting a whole new generation of kiddos with its sticky, sour, and sweet combination of a candy dipping stick and powdered fruit mix. A brand new decade ushered in a brand new spin on lollipops, specifically the dawn of the Charms Blow Pop. These lollies were everything by the middle of the decade, thanks to their crunchy candy shell and bubblegum tucked inside. As any 70s kid will tell you, the best part of a Charms Blow Pop was getting that last bite of exterior candy and mixing it with the bubblegum for tons of fruity taste. Charms Blow Pops originally came in classic flavors like strawberry, grape, and cherry, but have since expanded to include newbies like blue raspberry, black cherry, and cherry ice. Although you might not see many Mars bars around today, they made a splash in the States in the 1970s, even sparking a rivalry between US and UK varieties. Children of the 70s loved the original American Mars bar. 70s Mars bars were full of nougaty, chocolatey goodness, and an almond in every bite, according to advertisements from the time. The American version is a bit sweeter with composite layers, and the British version has more distinguishable flavors. Whether Team Brit or Team Murica has the best tasting Mars bar is a rivalry for the ages, and ultimately, it comes down to your personal preferences. Pop Rocks are like a science experiment in your mouth, a candy that peaked in the 1970s and early part of the 80s after being introduced by General Foods in 1976. These noisy little candy pebbles are on the cusp of coming back, despite all of the drama they had the first time around, involving a supposed deadly soda and Pop Rocks mixture and an unlucky boy named Mikey.
Anyone you know die this way?
Mikey. From the cereal commercial. Give it to Mikey, he'll eat anything.
According to lore, Mikey mixed Pop Rocks with a can of soda, then promptly exploded. William Mitchell, the inventor of Pop Rocks, was quick to dispel the rumor, explaining that Pop Rocks might cause burping, but not spontaneous combustion. In 1976, David Klein dreamt up the idea for a brand new kind of jelly bean, and by the close of the decade, it was dominating the candy world. Today, the word Jelly Belly is probably the first thing you think of when you imagine jelly beans. Klein started his jelly bean empire in Alhambra, California, debuting the still popular Very Cherry, Root Beer, Grape, Lemon, and Green Apple. Jelly Bellies have stood the test of time, appearing on candy shelves from coast to coast, and even in the presidential Oval Office, thanks to its intensely flavored, inventive line of beans. Tootsie Rolls and Tootsie Pops were both big in the 1970s, with a string of famous animated commercials from the late part of the decade. At their core, Tootsie Rolls are a tasty fusion of toffee and candy, with a sticky, chewy consistency that makes these bite-sized candies iconic. Not only were Tootsie Rolls giant during the 1970s, but their counterparts Tootsie Pops also had a moment. Famous television detective Kojak was often seen savoring a Tootsie Pop in a bid to get healthier and quit smoking. Clearly, Tootsie Rolls and Tootsie Pops painted an excellent and wholesome vision of Americana during the 1970s, and young viewers definitely ate it up.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
1979 was the year Twix officially hopped across the Atlantic from the United Kingdom to the United States. What was once known as Raider bars switched to Twix bars, and the double-barred, chocolate-covered shortbread cookie snack with a thick ripple of caramel running down the center almost immediately warmed itself to American audiences. One of the key reasons why people fell head over taste buds for Twix is because they perceived they were getting a 2-for-1 deal on their candy. Most of the focus was on Twix's triple threat of shortbread, chocolate, and caramel, with commercials lauding the hidden cookie in the candy bar. In the 1970s and 80s, chewing tobacco was immensely popular with Major League Baseball players. And this not-so-fun fact wasn't lost on children of the early 1980s, who craved a way to be just like their heroes. Fortunately, Big League Chew was there to save the day, a shredded bubblegum rendition that bore just enough resemblance to chewing tobacco. Rob Nelson dreamt up Big League Chew in 1979, and it caught on quickly after that. This iconic pink chew is so stubbornly tied with baseball that you'll even find it in the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum. Ring Pops had everything going for them at the start of the 1980s. On the surface, they were a delicious candy treat that you could wear, but they were also a cute candy nod to the decade of decadence, the over-the-top 80s. With classic commercials and the undeniable novelty that Ring Pop brought to the table, it's no wonder that this treat went full steam ahead into the 1990s. You can still find this so-called wearable candy online or at specialty candy stores, although it's not as ubiquitous as it once was. Reese's Pieces had a massive moment in 1982, thanks to a blockbuster success featuring a young boy who befriends an alien. E.T. the Extraterrestrial dominated cinemas that year, becoming the year's undisputed box office smash, and the film featured the chocolate-covered, bright little peanut butter candies in one of its most moving scenes. Although there's plenty to love about the creamy peanut butter and chocolate bites that are Reese's Pieces, the candy will always be linked with 80s nostalgia and that pivotal scene in one of the decade's biggest movies. Fast on the heels of other fruit-flavored candy creations like Starburst and sharing the same British roots, Skittles arrived in North America at the end of the 1970s. What made these colorful candies so intensely popular in the early 1980s was a clever marketing campaign inviting Americans to taste the rainbow.
Skittles, Skittles, bite-sized candy, taste the rainbow of fruit flavors.
With a crispy candy shell, mega bright colors, and a soft, chewy interior, Skittles hit the taste trifecta, giving Americans bite-sized treats in bold, different flavors. Today, Skittles remains immensely popular, offering many variations of their fruity flavors. If you were an 80s kid, there's a good chance that you remember Nerds. Kids got not one, but 2 flavors of tiny, misshapen candies in each box of Nerds, making it fun to mix and match, or simply dump the whole side of the box down your throat. The double-sided box made it seem like you got more for your buck than you actually did. You could also savor your Nerds piece by piece, or wolf them down in one go. Whatever the draw, these lovable little candy wads made the 1980s all the more thrilling for candy-loving kids. Sour Patch Kids first started as extraterrestrials and ended as, well, kids. The reason for this space-age to downright ordinary revamp was simple. Cabbage Patch dolls caught on like mad during the 1980s, prompting Sour Patch Kids to change direction, ditch their space-age theme, and grasp onto the coattails of the craze. So eat your heart out, Tickle Me Elmo. Sour Patch Kids might be an edible blatant ripoff of the bobble-headed Cabbage Patch Kids, but their last-minute game switch worked. They quickly became a favorite candy for 80s children, featuring sweet and sour renditions of fruity flavors like raspberry, lemon, orange, and lime in tiny, bite-sized kits. Launched in 1986, Push Pops came in plenty of different colors and flavors, and while hard pieces of fruit-saturated candy weren't new to the market, the design was. Each Push Pop came in a handy little sticky finger-free tube that you could eat at your leisure. Thanks to a click-on cap, Push Pops always stayed fresh with all of that gooey candy goodness inside the tube. These jewel-toned sticks of pure sugar made them ideal stocking stuffers, weekend treats, or suckable and savable summertime candies. Push Pops were in a true league of their own, even in an era when candy reigned supreme.
Hey, don't push me! Push a Push Pop!
Airheads candy is the brainchild of Perfetti Van Mel and has been wildly popular since it debuted in 1986. Although it was originally Dutch, Airheads is now manufactured in the southern United States and combines 2 favorite American candy mashups, taffy and fruit. Airheads quickly rose to candy infamy thanks to that unique combination and its catchy name. Almost like more sugary versions of fruit roll-ups, Airheads are easy to eat and highly portable, a favorite treat for kids and adults who want to tap into that childhood joy of breaking open a fresh package of the good stuff. Although chocolate-covered cherries have been around for several decades, Stella's chocolate-covered cherries had a lovely renaissance in the 1980s when the brand was scooped up by candy giant Tootsie, and boxes of Stella's chocolate-covered cherries started appearing on store shelves everywhere. Billed by Tootsie as the premium chocolate-covered cherries, these decadent treats with a liquid center and juicy cherry inside quickly became a treat for both kids and adults. Although Stella's chocolate-covered cherries aren't as popular as they once were, you probably won't find an 80s kid who doesn't remember the singular joy of biting into one of these fruity, chocolatey, sugary gems. Hershey's tapped into its sophisticated side at the close of the 1980s by rolling out a candy bar that was equal parts chocolate goodness and clever packaging. According to Hersheyland, these beautiful bars were 5 years in the making, and the rollout included 2 unique bars. One Symphony bar was premium milk chocolate with a luxe texture that defied its drugstore status. The second was studded with plenty of toffee and almonds. While plenty of candies went for a more whimsical and kid-friendly approach, Hershey Symphony bars went in the opposite direction, and the gutsy approach certainly paid off. Classic Hershey's bars got a breath of life at the beginning of the 1990s, thanks to a very unconventional reason: war. Hershey bars were the treat of choice for soldiers in the First Gulf War. Hershey sent Desert Storm troops 144,000 special desert bars designed to hold up in the sweltering heat. This gave a patriotic boost to the humble chocolate candy. Traditional Hershey chocolate bars are still one of the most popular treats in the United States by a long shot, so perhaps it's a lesson that you don't mess with perfection, or that there's nothing better for morale and company sales than a big old bar of standard Hershey's chocolate.
'Cause Hershey is the great American chocolate bar.
Bubble tape is one of the most easily recognizable and unique 90s offerings, appearing in cylindrical cases with oodles of gum spiraled inside. Bubble tape was the treat of choice for teens, making it notable because many top candies were popular strictly with the younger set. Perhaps it was Bubble tape's snarky advertising campaign, or the fact that it could be second as a hockey puck between classes. While the flavor was there, Bubble tape's sass to spare certainly catapulted it to mega status during its heyday. In 1991, Disney Channel broadcast Gummy Bears, which was about tiny magic bears going on adventures and fighting big bads, with a catchy theme song. The show was a massive hit, and in the early 1990s, gummies showed up everywhere, in sushi, in Lego form, and even as vitamin supplements for adults. They were simply fun, and it was cute and cheeky to eat them in strange forms. This epic gummy fad of the early 1990s certainly dredges up some nostalgia and a little pain when you realize that you can't get most of these treats anymore. Warheads defined the over-the-top 1990s with their super sour, almost unpleasant taste that made you pucker on the first slurp. When they arrived from Taiwan in the early part of the decade, 90s kids went bananas for them. Warheads were the type of candy that dared you to savor them until the last sliver. With super sour flavors and an almost acidic taste, sucking on Warheads without shedding a tear was a way for 90s kids to prove their toughness. Even long after its debut, Warheads' allure still lies in its otherworldly sourness, with commercials daring viewers to show their sour face. Hershey's rolled out Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bars in 1994. Snowy colored and with plenty of crushed cookies inside, this was Hershey's homage to Oreos. Like regular Hershey bars, each slab of Hershey's Cookies and Cream had 12 tiny little stamped Hershey bars on it, keeping with the company motif but adding a whole new spin on things. Hershey's Cookies and Cream Bars were a hot novelty item in the mid-1990s, with a slick advertising campaign touting the classic combination of cookies and white chocolate. It was a refreshing, fun change from the company's rich chocolate bars. In a cute throwback to a couple of years before, Nerds evolved and rolled out Nerds Rope, a chewy, fruity licorice-based candy studded with tons of tiny colorful nerds. Nerds Rope was the perfect candy for 90s kids, with plenty of textural interest and tons of sweetness. It was getting 2 treats in one, all wrapped up in a portable package. More than just a convenient snack, Nerds Rope is a big old bite of nostalgia, and a way for adults to fondly remember how they got to experience their favorite candy 2 ways during their lifetimes. The ads that made Mentos a powerhouse candy in the mid-1990s were also a double-edged sword for Liam Killeen, the ad creator. Mentos' notoriously cheesy ad campaigns ran all throughout the decade, making the Humble Mint one of its breakout stars. In the end, Mentos was the one laughing all the way to the bank, with sales tripling throughout the 90s due partly to its memorable ad campaign. Mentos billed itself as the get-out-of-jail-free card for any awkward social situation. While having fresh breath might not get you out of a parking ticket or help patch things up with your spouse, enough Americans bought into Mentos' lore to make this candy a 90s sensation. Although Butterfinger BBs are sadly no more, they were once the messy, chocolate-covered spherical snack of hordes of 90s kids. Rolled out in 1992, but popular throughout the entire decade, Butterfinger BB's success hinged on a classic candy combination and some super slick advertising featuring legendary cartoon characters. Messy but glorious, Butterfinger BBs were orbs of pure peanut butter and crunchy chocolate joy. If you were dealing with a heat wave, BBs tended to melt together into a squishy chocolate mess, which might have been one of the reasons for their demise. Topps created Baby Bottle Pops in 1998 and immediately won the hearts of 90s kids all over the country. Like Fun Dip before them, Baby Bottle Pops were highly interactive, and like Push Pops, they offered a mess-free solution for enjoying your candy over an extended period of time. Commercials for Baby Bottle Pops featured a catchy tune and instructed kids to shake their Baby Bottle Pops before unscrewing them for pure sugary fun.
Baby bottle pop.
With 2 flavors twisted into one.
Baby Bottle Pops were a fun, quirky way to close out the 20th century, and children of the 90s no doubt remember them very fondly. While traditional M&Ms had one layer of crisp atop a creamy chocolate center, crispy M&Ms took it a step further by providing extra crunch in the form of ultra-crispy milk chocolate candies with familiar branding. Crispy M&Ms still have so much of a following that M&M brought them back. M&M enthusiasts were begging the company to re-release Crispy M&Ms on an almost daily basis. While the original Crispy M&Ms had a relatively short run until 2005, they managed to touch on the nostalgia nerve in adult millennials, some of whom got their Crispy M&M fix overseas when it wasn't available in the States. Although Jelly Belly first debuted in the 1970s, 2000 was the year that Harry Potter rocked the pop culture, entertainment, and candy universes, ushering in an era of Pottermania that wouldn't subside for decades. And Jelly Belly's Bertie Bott's Every Flavor beans were there to transport mere muggles into the uncharted reaches of the wizarding world. With flavors like earwax, dirt, rotten egg, and soap floating around in the mix, cracking open a bag of Bertie Bott's Every Flavor beans was like gingerly stepping onto a landmine, but kids ate it up, figuratively and literally. Twizzlers had a brief mega resurgence during the early aughts, thanks to a whimsical advertising campaign that asked viewers to make wacky shapes and animals out of their beloved Twizzlers. Twizzlers certainly proved that silly sells, and although they had a spike in 2001, they remain ever relevant and popular today. According to YouGov America, over 90% of people have heard of Twizzlers, and more than 60% like the sweet licorice ropes. Furthermore, only 15% of the respondents said they didn't enjoy Twizzlers, so perhaps a snazzy marketing campaign mixed with an already popular product proved to be enough to make Twizzlers super cool again at the beginning of the century. In the early 2000s, M&M's made headlines by letting fans decide which new hue they should add to their pantheon of colors, and people jumped at the chance. According to the report, a whopping 10 million people chimed in and voted for a purple-shelled M&M, beating the aqua and pink options handily. This brilliant strategy made the sweet, candy-coated chocolate discs relevant again and gave fans a say in what color combo they were eating. As far as marketing is concerned, M&M's gets full marks, and we get a brand new addition to the M&M family. Wonder Ball was a fun little upgrade to Nestle Magic Balls, as well as a way to bypass parental concerns about little plastic figurines in food. Wonder Balls came with a tried-and-true kid-friendly concept, a big ball of chocolate with secret candy tucked into the middle, usually with easily recognizable Disney or cartoon characters for extra fun and cool surprises. The company also had a robust advertising campaign and easily won the hearts of many youthful millennials. Although Wonder Ball was discontinued soon thereafter, it still lives on in early aughts lore as possibly the perfect chocolate and candy specimen. Hershey's Kisses were always a classic candy, but the company took things up several notches in 2004 when they took the classic Kiss and added a creamy caramel center. Hershey's Caramel Kisses had it all going on: a creamy, chocolate exterior, tons of caramel filling in every nook and cranny of the kiss, and a delightful interplay of textures when eaten together. Hershey's Caramel Kisses simply proved the versatility of the brand, building on an already popular treat and giving it a nice makeover for the new millennium. Plus, like all Hershey's products, Hershey's Caramel Kisses had a fantastic advertising campaign that played on the contrast of silky caramel and rich chocolate. Jolt Gum was the go-to gum for millennials in the early aughts, with caffeine levels that doubled the Go Juice in mere sodas. Jolt Energy Gum was a coffee-free way to start your morning or get over that 3 p.m. slump. Radio commercials from the era herald Jolt Energy Gum as a quick fix for any of your midday blahs, suggesting that you chew more to do more. Still, Jolt Energy Gum is the one we remember fondly from 2005, an easy and effective way to get your daily dose of caffeine by simply chewing down.